Afternoon all, and thank you for your time, and thank you to Red Cloud for having us present today. As mentioned, I'm the co-founder, non-exec chairman and largest shareholder of Culpeo Minerals. We're a very new company. We're just over a year old, listed on both the ASX and the OTC, and just as importantly, we've made a significant new copper moly discovery in Chile. That cover slide is our LANA CORINA copper property. You can see we're in the Atacama Desert. It's very arid, very little vegetation. There's actually a road running across that property, and the small mound in front there, that's actually a small amount of historical mining. About 1 million tonnes were pulled out of there at 1.5 to 2.5% copper. Standard disclaimer, there'll be some forward-looking statements. So we set the company up about 3 years ago, and I funded it privately for the first couple of years. And what we were looking to do is source copper in the coastal Cordillera, not in the Andes. We wanted to be focused on the Cordillera, and the reason for that is that there's infrastructure there and you're not operating at altitude. So as you can see on this slide, you've got Teck to the north of us. Their Andacolia mine is actually, well, our deposit is very similar to the Andacolia mine. It's a series of breccia pipes outcropping at surface that go down to depth. And below that, what you have is typically a larger porphyry deposit that's probably in the order of 0.6 to 0.8 copper equivalent. But importantly, above that is the breccia pipes, and they're typically running about 1% copper equivalent. So we've done one round of drilling. That was about 14 holes in total. As you can see from some of those results, we were pretty happy with the outcome. So 257 metres at over 1%, 173 metres at over 1% equivalent, 169 at 1.2% equivalent. So, you know, we've certainly made a new discovery in this region. Also importantly, there's smelters, there's power, and there is access to plants available in this region. We're approximately 350 kilometres north of Santiago in Region 4. But again, we're close to the coast, there's desalination plants, there's power, there's very good infrastructure here where we are. We have two other assets. We've actually just started drilling Quelon, that's 40 kilometres to the south. You can see, you can see Quelon's just down here and LANA CORINA's just above it. There's obviously some other existing deposits here as well as Teck and battery metals as well. So the company's tightly held. I hold just under 10%. There's 70 million shares on issue. Management and board have had success previously in Chile. In a prior life when I worked in the dark side of mining in private equity. I helped fund Far West Mining, which discovered the Santo Domingo project in Region 3. We helped them fund their discovery, their pre-feasibility. That was sold to Capstone, now Capstone Copper, for $700 million. They're currently permitting that project. It's to the north in Region 3. The focus is on new discoveries and it's on high grade. And when I say high grade, I mean 0.7, copper equivalent that is open pittable, that starts from surface, and that's what we've identified. I've already touched on our location specifically, but obviously Chile being the world's #1 copper producer and having the world's largest reserves of copper is a great place to operate in. And there's plenty of skilled labour. We're certainly not seeing the inflation issues or the challenges around finding good personnel that many are in the other jurisdictions. Just a peer comparison. So we've done this based on actual assets, as in the type of deposit. So you can see very modestly valued from a US dollar perspective. Obviously we're early. We're doing an earn-in on the property, so we have the right to go to 80% of the property. Another company I'm involved with in the north, further north, Tesoro Gold. We've used the same structure. We now own 85% of that business, of that deposit. So it's a very successful and low risk entry into the country, and typically the earning will be based on about $1 million per annum expenditure into the ground, and then a modest cash payment to the vendor, who in this situation is a local, an indigenous Chilean. Electrification, I think most people are probably across this, but copper's not a critical mineral. I'm a bit confused as to why it's not. I mean, anything involving electrification needs copper. In my mind, it's actually the one true critical mineral. Maybe that'll change and maybe it will become one. But as you can see from that slide, it's in solar, it's in wind, it's in networks, it's in EVs and batteries. There's a very strong case for copper and the copper price. I've touched on Chile, but world's number one producer, 28% of global production. You don't achieve that without having good mining law, good skill. We found it an excellent place to operate in, and obviously it's the most advanced economy in Chile, and most of that wealth has been generated from copper mining. So just focusing in on LANA CORINA a little more, you can see in that schematic section that there's multiple breccia pipes. We've only drilled 4 of 17 breccia pipes. We're currently undertaking a geochemical survey, a detailed one across the property. We did a more broad space one last year, and that will help us target the remaining breccia pipes. Not all of them come to surface. And interestingly, with these deposits, similar to the Andacola mine in the north, you do have a high rhenium and molybdenum zone, or what's called a silica cupola, that sits at the bottom of the breccia pipes, and that cupola typically sits above a larger porphyry copper deposit. Now, we have put one hole into that. That was the hole down to 700 metres. That did intersect 50 metres of copper at around 0.6, 0.7 copper equivalent. So we know that does exist, but as I mentioned earlier, our focus is on defining in the order of 50 million tonnes plus from surface, something that's open pittable in that 0.7, 0.8 to 1% copper equivalent. That moly zone is quite interesting. If you look at some of those numbers down there, there was 1 metre at 15,000 ppm. Using conservative long-term moly prices, that's 6% copper equivalent. So there's a fair bit of value to be had in that moly. But again, you can just see the holes. Some nice long intercepts there, and nice and consistent. And we've got multiple other targets that we need to test. So at the moment, we have 3 kilometres of strike, and we've tested a very small portion of that. So at the moment, what we've drilled is 500 metres long, 400 metres wide, and up to 700 metres deep. This is a sectional view of the geophysics we've done. Again, what's to note is the small area we've drilled. Our view is this northeastern sector is actually a better target, and then again that comes down to this large magnetic low down here. It's larger in size, and we expect that may actually be the feeder zone here. So that's the makeup of the property. We're in negotiation on this area here, but again you can see the area we've drilled. It's a very small portion of the area, and there's multiple targets that haven't been tested. But this northeast sector, again, the surface expression, or what the geophysics is showing us, is that these anomalies are significantly bigger. There are multiple of what we're seeing on the southwest sector. This is just a detailed geochem. We've just completed that. We anticipate that we'll have those results in the next 3 to 4 weeks. And that's just a little more of a focus in on the area we've drilled. You can see those other geophysical anomalies that we haven't drilled. In total, there's 17. We've only drilled 4 of them. It's nice looking core. When you're in the mineralised zone, you're in the mineralised zone. It's very clear. The material that was treated historically was, for those of you who know Chile, was treated at an Anami plant. So we know the recoveries were in the high 90s. When you look at the chalcopyrite in these photos, you can obviously see that it's very nice and coarse. And the molybdenum is also nice and coarse, so should make a good concentrate. And no deleterious elements that we've identified. Plenty of outcropping copper on surface. That gives you a bit more of an indication of some of the breccia pipes. As you can see down here on this one, this is this cupola, the silica cupola. There's potential to have a significant deposit down there. Anticolia in the north is a very large project in excess of 500 million tonnes in the deeper regions, but obviously we're focused on the open pittable material near surface. Quellon, so this property is 40 kilometres south of our LANA CORINA property. We've just started drilling this in the last couple of days. It's a greenfield site, so there was no historic mining or no historic drilling on this. The first hole's about 100 metres in, and we've already seen some pretty nice chalcopyrite, so that's encouraging. There's a large geochemical anomaly and a large geophysical anomaly here, so that's why we've drilled it, and we'll have those results back in about 4 weeks as well, but certainly looking encouraging. So we've got a modest amount of capital in the bank, but we're fully funded for this program. And we'll look to put 4 to 6 holes in here to test this. Our third asset, so the original asset we listed on Las PETACAS. This sits just south of Lundin's Candelaria mine in Region 3. Whilst we had some decent hits here, as I said, we're really looking for that, that close to 1% copper equivalent at surface. We're currently in discussions with several parties who are active in the area. We expect we'll vend that property sometime this year. So just you can see our activity through the year. Post the geochem sampling, we'll go back to LANA CORINA and continue drilling there. Modest market cap. We did have some good response in the market on the back of some of those better results, but the markets have been reasonably challenged. Board and management aligned, 15% of the business. So Max Tuesley is our MD. He's worked extensively in IOCG deposits and projects globally. He's running it. I'm a geologist as well, originally. And as I mentioned, had previous success more recently with Tesoro Gold that's discovered the El Zorro project in Region 3. We've just had Goldfields, the world's 8th largest mining company, take a strategic placement in the business, and obviously previously involved with Far West Mining and the sale of that business to Capstone. Geoff Reeves is the other founder of this business. He's had previous success in gold. He made a discovery in Brazil, an intrusive related gold system, and that was acquired by Kinross, and it's now one of Kinross's operating mines. A little more on copper, but I think we're all familiar with that. So that's my presentation, and if there are any questions. I'll also mention that we will have a booth at PDAC, booth number 2205. Thank you.